Being's all something I've noticed on the internet, and my colleague agrees.
All these videos online, Seth Skorkowski, Matt Colville, and the rest, they talk about players a lot. But we don't talk about the types of game masters too often.
That's where we come in. Arcane Farge, D&D Shorts, and the DM Layer have done some videos with different conclusions.
Yeah, some say 5 types, some 9. Well, we say there are 4, and everything else is just somewhere on the square.
Square! The Grammasian Square, the author, the simulationist, the wargamer, the randomizer. In my opinion, a good DM needs to sit in the middle of these 4 points. That's the square. Keep in mind, we're talking about D&D here. If you play something like Call of Cthulhu or Warhammer Fantasy, you might want to skew toward or away from the wargamer, as an example. And really, at the core of these ideas, we're talking about DMs that focus on the who, the what, the where, the when, the why questions, varying degrees. So we'll be talking about them largely in those terms.
Stay too much in any one direction and you end up with Critical Role's Matt Mercer, an author/simulationist, or the Dungeon Delver, who's a simulationist/randomizer.
Indeed. Let's define our terms. The author is the DM who creates the world first. They write out elaborate stories, have detailed settings, have traits, bonds, flaws for almost every NPC. Eventually, they set their players loose in a complex web of intrigue, politics, big damn heroics, or simply want to take players along in a very specific journey. Running, say, The Curse of Strahd is author DM's dream. The author DM views the game as a narrative first and game second.
If you're an author DM, make sure you remember to play the game. Often, an author DM can get so caught up in writing the story and love crafting that they never get around to playing in it. The author needs to remember to give players agency in their narrative. A story like The Lord of the Rings is fun to watch and read, but players aren't left with very many options.
Over-planning is a definite problem for these DMs. You'll find that they excel in investigative and political games. They understand the why and how questions, and their characters feel real because of it. They're often the kind of DM most likely to do funny voices, climb up on the table and cackle like a goblin, use props and play. In short, if you're along for the ride, you'll have fun with them.
The simulationist is kind of like the author, but they don't have a big damn story or a spectacle in mind. They set up the world, usually with geography, economics, and believable ecologies. The simulationist cares about understanding the how and what questions of world creation.
If they aren't careful, the simulationist can forget to put in adventure hooks or give players something to explicitly do. They'll create the sandbox, populate it with stuff, stare intently at their players as they wait for them to explore this brave new world like a Minecraft. The simulationist DM might spend hours wrestling with questions like, how many dragons can fit together in a 200 square mile area? Or how much tax revenue does Duchy of 20,000 Gnomes generate?
These DMs give great descriptions of the setting and understand the mechanics of their world well, on top of consistently worrying that their fragile D&D economy might get busted by the PCs finding a dragon's horde. The simulationist will create a world where the consequences of the magic, technology, and resources are brought fully to bear. They might struggle with the physics of a dragon's flight, but they can tell you exactly how that scything blade trap works. They'll probably have a low rather than high magic system for the sake of their sanity too.
Wargamer is a classic and needs little explanation. These DMs run goblins like they're Viet Cong. They have hobgoblins, use sophisticated battle tactics. They treat combat as a real threat. And they're really happy to spend hours rolling dice, moving pawns, and murdering PCs. They're the most likely to use roleplay in form of summary as opposed to explicitly drawing out the encounter with one-on-one conversations. They're likely to run games built around big battles, sieges, small-scale gritty combat. They're also the DM that is most likely to deal with min-maxer and munchkin players.
If a wargamer isn't careful, they'll eliminate low-level players by accident. They'll get so focused on the combat and the crunchy numbers that they forget to do things like roleplay or watch out for slog. because combats can really drag on if they aren't careful. And if players don't adjust their combat strategies, well, they'll find themselves losing combats, and dungeons will be a real bear.
When in doubt, set fire traps around the village, have the wizard cast fireball, and send in the dogs. Remember, you can't smoke out a properly ventilated dungeon. Keep in mind, Wargamer DMs, that not everyone shares that crunch, and remember to incorporate other elements beyond just combat. There are 3 pillars of play, after all.
Last on our list is the randomizer. These DMs care less about the story or plausibility. The randomizer uses tables, online tools, and chance to build their world. They'll filter out most of the outrageous stuff, but leave the rest. These DMs tend to be the ones who have played the longest, have the least amount of time, and don't really care about giving a fully immersive experience.
The randomizer can be very fun. They can place the what and why questions together. When done right, they use randomization as a spark to fuel their creative genius. Besides, sometimes life throws you curveballs, and randomization is a great way to do it. These DMs rely heavily on improv and are the kind that are most likely to extol improv above all else.
All things in moderation, folks. Too much, and you get a series of boring, random encounters with no story, all combat, and a mess of improbable characters. Like, why would an ochre jelly, trolls, wolves, and whites all be in the same basement?
Well, don't know, but maybe some of the comments will tell us. You fall on this spectrum. I assert that a good DM needs all 4 of these categories. A healthy love of narrative, a dab hand at combat, an eye for realism, and a touch of random to keep things spicy. All in balance, DMs. My advice, pick 2 and sprinkle a third, and you'll have an excellent game.
All right, that's it. Y'all take it easy.